Nadia was born into a poor family where her parents were busy with the problems of everyday life. From her childhood, she felt that her place in the family was not on a pedestal. When her younger sister Jemima was born, her parents began to give her their full attention. Rosalind, Nadia's mother, was enchanted by her youngest daughter, and all her love and care was directed to her. Her mother often told Jemima that she was the smartest and the prettiest, and Nadia gradually found herself in the shadows. Her father, Harry, also favored the younger daughter, constantly praising her for her academic success and giving her gifts. He was strict with Nadia, often shouted at her for no reason, and could even hit her if she was late home. Once, when Nadia came home late, she experienced another of her father's wrath. He beat her for being an hour late. At times like this, Nadia felt the coldness surrounding her. She didn't know why her parents were so cruel to her. And when Jima, her younger sister, started bullying her, calling her a loser, Nadia just kept quiet, silent because she saw no way out. There was a struggle in her soul, but outwardly she remained calm. Nadia tried to prove to her family that she was worth something. She studied hard despite her home environment. In college, she met Layla, a girl who immediately saw her as more than just an older sister, forgotten by her parents. Nadia felt lonely, but that all changed when she met Layla. Layla was a bright and confident girl who immediately caught her eye. She noticed that Nadia often sat alone, avoided socializing with other students, and something in her gaze said that she was experiencing more than just studying. One day, after a lecture, Layla approached Nadia and suggested that they take a walk together. It was the first time anyone had ever shown interest in her for no apparent reason. Layla was thoughtful, and with each conversation, Nadia began to open up. She talked about how her family treated her, how her father could beat her up for being late, how her mother favored her younger sister. Layla listened intently and comforted her, telling her that she was not alone and that she had the strength to change her life. Nadia was amazed at how easily Layla accepted her and her story. Their friendship began to grow, and Nadia felt that she had finally found someone who understood her. Every day, Nadia became more confident thanks to Layla's support. She began to realize that her life didn't have to be the way she was used to. If her family couldn't appreciate her, she had to find a way to move forward on her own. Nadia decided to tell Layla about her dream of making money and breaking out of this vicious cycle. Layla supported her idea, assuring her that all her dreams were achievable if she worked on herself. Nadia began to become more and more interested in business, learning financial literacy and making plans for the future. It was a turning point in her life when she realized that her success did not depend on her parents or how they perceived her. She began to believe in herself and realized that in order to achieve her goal, she needed to work not only on her studies, but also on developing her personal qualities. One day, as Nadia was walking home, she saw a lottery ticket in a machine. Her friends often joked about how cool it would be to win $1 million, and Nadia decided to try her luck. She bought the ticket, not expecting that this random act would change her life. That day, when it came time to check the ticket, Nadia was shocked. She had won $10 million. Her heart beat faster when she saw the winnings on the screen. 10 million. She couldn't believe her eyes. It was like a fairy tale, but Nadia knew it wasn't just luck. It was an opportunity to start a new life, and she was ready to seize it. When Nadia told her parents about her winnings, they didn't believe it right away. But when they realized it was true, their attitude changed. Her father began demanding that she use some of the money to pay for the tuition of Gemma, her younger sister, and to help the family with their debts. Rosalind, who had always been gentle and loving to her youngest daughter, immediately began demanding money to help around the house and for personal needs. She assured Nadia that she should support the family, since she lived in their home. But Nadia, remembering all the pain she had endured, was in no hurry to give in to the manipulation. Nadia felt an inner strength and decided not to give the money to her parents. She remembered how they had treated her as a child, how they had humiliated and unsupportive. Nadia reminded them how they had ignored and insulted her, and decided to put it all behind her. She left home, leaving her relatives with a small amount of money they didn't deserve anyway. It was more important for her to find her independence and start building a life without their toxic influence. After Nadia left home, her life began to change. She rented a small apartment in the city center, using some of her winnings to cover her initial expenses. It was the first day she felt free. There were no harsh looks from her parents or rudeness from her father in her new life. Here, in her new home, she could start over. But the reality of life outside the house was not so easy. Nadia worked part-time at a cafe to support herself and studied business and investments in her spare time. She began to realize that freedom is not only about money, but also about responsibility. Every day she worked, she became more and more convinced that her future didn't have to depend on other people. She was ready to make her own destiny. However, the freedom in her life was not complete. She still felt a certain emptiness, especially when she had to face difficult moments at work. Even though she was on her own, her decisions and accomplishments brought her satisfaction. Layla visited her often, supporting her, and they continued to deepen their friendship. Layla became not just a friend to her, but someone who believed in her when no one else did. Every day, Nadia felt her confidence growing. She tried to be self-sufficient, but she still lacked people close to her who could support her in times of need. It was a path full of loneliness and self-reflection, but it was her own path. Although she still had much to learn, Nadia felt that she was on the right track. Even though living in a new home brought a sense of independence, old memories would not let Nadia go. She often recalled moments from her childhood when her family had seemed perfect, but in reality, it was only an illusion. In those moments when she felt particularly lonely, thoughts of her relatives, of leaving them behind, and of how hard it had been for her to decide to take that step came to her. Doubts sometimes overcame her. Did I do the right thing? She thought. However, every time she remembered how her parents had treated her, she realized that her decision was the right one. She was ready to move forward despite all the weight of the past. Nadia realized that she had to stay true to herself and not let anything break her inner resilience. Meanwhile, Layla continued to support her. Layla became not only a friend to Nadia, but almost a sister. They shared all their experiences and supported each other in difficult moments. Layla was also ready to support Nadia if she wanted to change something in her life, and together they looked for opportunities for self-realization. But along with a new stage of life came new challenges. Nadia faced difficulties at work, financial difficulties that were not immediately solved. Although she had enough money to live comfortably, she felt she needed something more. These questions about the future kept popping up in her mind more and more often. Nadia began to think about how she could use her winnings more effectively. She decided not just to spend money on mindless purchases, but to invest it in her future. One day, while researching investment literature, she found an article about startups. This was her idea. She could invest in a project that was related to her interests, maybe even start her own business. At first, the thought of it scared her. She had no business experience, but Layla, who was always there to help her find solutions. Layla offered some ideas and suggested what steps she could take. Nadia was ready for this new phase of her life, and despite her doubts, she realized that she needed to take risks if she wanted to be truly independent. One of the steps Nadia took was to meet with several investors. She had several meetings with businessmen who could help her realize her idea. This was a test of her determination and perseverance. Nadia began to realize that the business world could be brutal and she would have to go through a lot to succeed. But she was ready. The first few months were not easy. Nadia faced setbacks. Several startups she invested in did not meet her expectations. However, instead of giving up, she started working on improving her ideas. She took the mistakes as lessons and kept looking for opportunities to improve. One such successful step was the idea of starting an online platform to teach financial literacy. Nadia decided to use her winnings to create an educational course that could help other girls like her gain financial independence and start their journey to success. She realized that this idea had potential, and although she faced many challenges, all this only strengthened her resolve. Nadia began to receive the first positive feedback about her course, and it brought her joy. It was the first significant success on her path to independence. After her success with the online course, Nadia's life started to get better. She became more confident in her abilities and in her business. But one day her life changed when a big businessman offered her a partnership. He was interested in her project and offered her to sign a contract that could take her business to the next level. This offer was a real challenge for her. Nadia knew it was a chance that could change everything, but she wasn't sure if she should trust this businessman. It was a risky proposition, and she decided to consult Layla, who had always supported her. Layla advised her to be cautious and take a measured approach to this step. Nadia decided to meet this businessman and discuss all the terms of the deal. She realized that if she wanted to continue to grow and develop, she needed to accept such challenges. Nadia took a decisive step: collaboration with a major businessman to whom she entrusted her idea brought her the success she had been waiting for. Financial literacy courses began to gain popularity, and her online platform became a successful project, attracting people from all over the world. She felt that her life had changed dramatically and that she was no longer dependent on what had happened in her past. But what Nadia was most proud of was that she had made it on her own. Despite all the obstacles, challenges, and underestimation from her family, she built her business from the ground up and not only overcame her fears, but also started helping others. She saw how her courses helped people break free from financial addiction, and it gave her deep satisfaction. All of this was the result of her perseverance, belief in herself, and strength of spirit. She realized that her journey was not yet complete, and there were new challenges ahead of her. But now, in this moment, she felt like a winner. Nadia could be proud of herself. Every day, her confidence grew. She stopped doubting her right to happiness. Free from the toxic atmosphere of her family, she found inner harmony and finally realized that no one but herself could dictate her life. There was no more room in her soul for regrets about the past, only gratitude that she was able to leave and build something of her own. For a moment, she remembered with a smile how it had all started, when she was still that intimidated girl, unsupported and unappreciated. Now she was a woman, confident, ready for new heights. The journey was long, but every step of it was important. And Nadia realized that she had gone through everything to become the person she was today. And this girl, standing on the threshold of her success, felt like her life was just beginning. She called Layla, thanked her for her support, and said, "You know, Layla, I'm not afraid. I know for sure now that I can do anything." Layla smiled in response, proud of her friend, for it was her support, her faith in Nadia, that was the catalyst for change. After all, Nadia had done it, and that was just the beginning. Over time, as Nadia gained financial independence and self-confidence, she began to realize that perhaps it was time to reconnect with her family. It wasn't about forgiving or forgetting everything that had happened to her, but accepting the past and wanting to move forward. She decided to write her parents a letter. In it, she didn't reclaim them for all those years of pain and fear. Instead, she expressed her feelings, explaining how hard it had been to be left behind and forgotten, but how those trials had helped her become strong and independent. There was no expectation that they would change, but she wanted them to know how happy she was to be who she was now, a woman who was proud of herself. The letter was sincere, and she didn't expect a reply, but at least she said what she felt. A few weeks later came a reply from her parents. Her mother wrote that she was sorry for what had happened and that it was hard for her to realize that she had been so unsupportive of Nadia for so many years that she hadn't even noticed how much her daughter needed love and care. That answer was important, but Nadia knew that it was now up to her to decide how to move on with her life. Everything that had happened to her up to this point had shaped her as a person, and she was ready to build her life without looking back. Nadia looked at herself in the mirror and saw the woman she had always dreamed of becoming. There was strength in her eyes and confidence on her face. Her life was now filled with meaning and purpose. She was an inspiration to many, especially girls who had experienced struggling families or suffered from underachievement. She now taught financial literacy in her courses, emphasizing not only numbers, but also the importance of believing in yourself. She wanted her students to not only learn how to make money, but also to learn to appreciate themselves, their efforts, and their accomplishments. Nadia was happy in the fact that she was able to build her life on her own rules. Even though her path was thorny, she still found herself at the top, ready to move on. She always remembered Layla's words, "You are not alone, and you can do anything." Those words had become her motto. And now, looking back on her life, Nadia felt that she had not just won the lottery, she had won her life, and there were new horizons ahead of her.